As the president of Amfori, I think we have the opportunity to evaluate this in a number of ways. You know, representing about 2,300 plus members globally, coming from 44 countries and sourcing from 107 countries, many of the countries that are part of the Belt and Road Initiative, we see a couple of benefits. The first one, I would say, is that BRI really has the opportunity to stimulate global trade. When you look at the trade that the Belt and Road countries have been doing for the time being of around 1 billion to go over the next decade to over 2.5 billion, I think this clearly is an indication what potential growth is available in this context. I think it also brings me to the next point, which is important here. It's really the connectivity, it's the interconnectivity, not just between the old Silk Road partner countries, but really more what I would like to call a global spider net. Whether it is Asia, whether it's Europe, it's Africa, it's even parts of the Americas, and obviously all around Asia. So there is significant room for improvement by liberalizing trade among those partners. And when we do this in an effective and efficient way, for example, by introducing free trade agreements, the reduction of tariffs and trade barriers among all the participating countries, the development, the growth and the prosperity along will be even greater. I think another important point is we're also talking about not only the infrastructure projects that the Belt and Road Initiative does bring along, but also the development of industrial parks. I believe that is particularly important in this context, as this is really the opportunity on a sustainable and long-term scale to bring people into employment. It's literally job creation. An infrastructure project, a port, let's say a bridge, a road, is something that you build and then you finish it. And of course there is an element of maintenance, but when you have industrial parks, that ensures continuous benefit for the people. Last but not least, I think there is also the element of intergovernmental exchange. It's liberalization in many different aspects. It's the free movement of people from one country to the other. It is the skill set. It's really the sort of capacity that every player along this Silk Road or within the Silk Road spider net can bring. And if we take proper advantage and really include this in our development, we can have great benefits of it. Yes, it will. And I think this is very much a positive. It's really a continuation of what I just mentioned in the question before. The interconnectivity is a very important element. If I take one example, I'm coming from Europe, I'm German, and we know the history and to some extent, let's say, a dark history when it comes to Germany. When you look at the European Union today, we have had 70 plus years of peace, something we have not experienced before. So if we have the opportunity, if we take proper advantage of the Belt and Road Initiative and really get governments to work closely together, if we remove barriers, if we enable people to freely, let's say with some restrictions maybe, to move from country to country in a positive migration sort of version, I think we will only benefit from such a development. I think it's very clear that the business community is playing an equally important role here. The business community also, when you look at the sustainable development goals, are a key player apart from government. So if governments are putting in place the right rules and regulations and enable the facilitation of proper development, this will be a great benefit to all the partnering countries along the Belt and Road Initiative. I think that's a very good question, and one particularly close to my heart, especially when I look at the Amfori membership. I mean, over 70% of our members are actually small and medium-sized enterprises. So this is one of the key issues. And in fact, yes, I believe when you look at the large infrastructure projects, I mean with bridges and ports and power plants, yes, this is where the big players come into scene. But once you have put in place connectivity, safe energy supply, port infrastructure, rail and road infrastructure, this will be a great benefit. I myself used to run a couple of factories in Sri Lanka, small scale projects in this context, and I remember the issue of power cuts, the shortages of manpower in ports and the capabilities to handle goods in an effective and fast fashion. So by really, and it's almost like you have to take the first step before the next ones fall in. When you make sure that the infrastructure that is needed is in place, and again, whether it is energy, road, rail, and to some extent, as I mentioned before, when you have sort of free trade zones or if you have industrial parks, this is a key element to make them successful, and then really to open the Belt and Road possibilities to the SMEs. We were talking about the e-commerce development. And I had recently the pleasure to listen to the chairman of Alibaba. It is a whole new dimension that is coming along all over the world with e-commerce. And if small players, if SMEs have the ability to take proper advantage of the Belt and Road Initiative, it will open the planet for them.